Hello. Uh-oh, I keep dropping this. Hey. Hello, hello, hello. Speak when you come in and share when you come in so I can speak back to you. Hello on Periscope. Give it a few minutes. A few seconds. Whether I'm doing good. How are you? Oh, I forgot. Hey, Miss Buff. Hey, Jasper. Well, I won't keep you up long. So hang in there probably about a good 20, 30 minutes. Hello, hello, hello. This is number 5 from blog to live. I have reached the end mark of August. So each Thursday I have been going live. And instead of simply just posting something on my blog, I have actually taken the time to face the fear of getting on live and talking. It hasn't been bad. I kind of actually like it. So here we are with number 5. And today we're going to talk a little bit about process, changing, being changed and transformed, and the process that it takes, even though sometimes it takes seems like it comes suddenly, but there is a process in it all. And so what I did was I put up a blog earlier this morning, and I entitled it, hey India, I entitled it, God wouldn't do that, or God wouldn't, wait, will he? Because so many times I'm on Facebook Live and Periscope. But so many times we think God wouldn't do a thing just because we're so accustomed to what He's always been doing. We're so accustomed to the way He's our traditions and what we've been taught, and we kind of get used to Him in one way. And so we kind of get challenged when oh, that's scary. We kind of get challenged when something else happens. And so let's see here. The blog today began with just asking the questions. What happens when God interrupts your life? When He starts messing with your identity, your perception on things, your traditions, what you're used to doing, when you are kind of pushed into another challenge, another territory, or a new place, when you're trying to become something different, when you're used to the habits that you're used to doing, and then you're kind of challenged with the fact that, hey, I need to change this, or I really think it's time for me to change something around. And so what do you do during the process? On my journey, I think I've said a couple of times on here that I've been on a journey to a renewed mind. So renewing my mind, I've been on a journey to really find out who I am, what I've been called and created to do, my purpose and all that good stuff. And so on the journey, God has challenged me to look at myself a little different, to see Him in different capacities and different ways, and even to embark in different areas. And so it has kind of been interesting. And so the people that I kind of not look up to, or I like reading about in the Bible is Abram. Abram was turned into Abraham. Jacob was turned to Israel. Saul was turned to Paul on the road of Damascus. And really the reason why I like them or like to read about their stories is pretty much it speaks of, it shows how their dysfunction and their mistakes that they made, that they're still greater in store, that God still has a greater purpose for you. And so those are some biblical legends. I don't like calling them characters because it's not like it's a false story. They are real people. So biblical legends that I kind of been reading into throughout this year and a couple of past year or whatever. But this week, I've really been looking into Peter. And Peter was actually a disciple of Christ, and he became one of the lead apostles, or the lead apostle. And what fascinated me about him was the fact that when he first got called to be a disciple, his name was originally Simon. And God or Jesus said, your name will be Peter, or Cephas, Peter, rock, all the same thing. And so what actually happened was, even after his name had been changed, even after his name had been changed, and I couldn't see y'all comments. Let me do this over. After his name had been changed and all of that, he still went through some different the name change. When they had a name change, they actually had like an identity. It was like an identity change. They were to live up to a greater standard. It was speaking towards their destiny. Names in the Bible were significant. The reason why their names were such. And so even after his name was changed, even after he confessed who Jesus was, like everybody didn't know, really had the revelation that Jesus was the Christ or the Messiah, even after he was rebuked from Jesus because he was like, no, you're not going to die, this, that, and the other. And even after he denied Jesus 3 times, like all those were different milestones in Peter's life, just because it changed his perspective, it changed his outcome, and gave him different characteristics, and it diminished some of them. Like he was fearful, he was weak. When he denied Jesus, he was kind of, whatever. So he kind of grew each time, but it did not stop there. And so the one that really, really got to me this week was the fact that he had a vision, and in the vision, God had told him to get up and eat. And what the significance of this is, what he told him to eat was some type of animal food that they were considered unclean at that time. He was a Jew, so based on the law, they couldn't eat this type of food because it was unclean, it was unlawful, or what have you. But God told him to get up and eat, and he immediately told him, don't call what I have cleansed or what I have purified or what I have called clean, don't call it common, don't call it unclean. So he had to really adjust his mindset, because now it's like, God really just told me I can eat this? And then it had significance to it because he ended up having to be around some Gentiles or other people that they didn't even associate themselves with at that time. So here he is, a full-fledged disciple apostle, and he has to learn and be transformed in his thinking about how he communicates with others, who he associates with, what is lawful for him to do at this time. So he had another identity change. And even after that, if you go on over, Paul even talked about how he had to confront him, because when he had the identity change, he started changing. He started mingling with the Gentiles, talking to them. He saved a couple of them. But after his friends, after the people he had been with for so long started to come visit, he started to draw away. He started to go back to his old self. And so it's like really a process. It's really a process. And so that's what I wanted to talk about, the process of it. And so my story pretty much is, I think I said on the last one, God was asking me, who are you? And it's crazy because when he asked me, who are you? I told you, I said, I'm a child of God. And we had hashed all that out. Then a couple of months later, he asked me again, who are you? And I'm like, didn't we just go through this? So, but I had to dig deeper. I had to find out there was a difference in being a child of God, a son of God, all that. Don't want to get into that, but there's always new levels of who you are. And we kind of think that there's a suddenly change when we say, hey, we're going to do this. We think it can be quickly done. Say we're going to have a new habit, new eating habits. We're going to change the way we think about a thing. Whatever it is that we're trying to change, we think it can be automatically sometimes. And sometimes it is automatically, I guess you would say like Saul turned to Paul, if y'all never heard about that on the road of Damascus, you know, it seemed like a quick change. But then I looked and I read how Paul had even said in Galatians 1 about God separated him in his mom's womb. And so even though he was separated in his mom's womb for the work that he was called to do, he still grew up persecuting the church. He still grew up persecuting Jesus. So he didn't grow up looking like he was separated, set apart, called apart. And that meant that kind of helped me, because it was saying that, listen, we may not have it all together. There's a process to it. Everything that we do, all the mistakes we make, that should give us hope that it all can turn around. It should give us hope that it'll all end up working for our good, that it can be used even in our end point. So that gave me a little hope and a little more insight on the fact that even though his suddenly happened on the road of Damascus, it was still a process, even if it didn't seem like it. And then there's another thing about it being a suddenly but still a process, is the fact that, you know, we always talk about when Jesus come back, we're going to be like him, we're going to be changed in a twinkling of an eye and all of that. But yet and still, there's still a process of us going through now. Like, we're constantly being changed into his image. We're constantly having our thought process. We're constantly having our thought processes challenged. We're constantly having our motives challenged, our heart. You know, all of this is being purified even up until that point. It says in Philippians that he that has began a good work in you will see it through to completion to the day of Jesus Christ. So he's begun the work now, and it will be completed in that suddenly moment. So that's just that part there, that it's suddenly, but there's a process. And so I got to the point where I was saying, I know I'm growing. I know that things are changing in my life, but I'm like, what do I do in the middle of this process? Like, how do I handle it? Because it's not easy. Sometimes it gets a little difficult. Sometimes it gets a little lonely. Sometimes it gets a little confusing and complicated, because you got new ideas being thrown at you. You got new ways of living. Really, you're having to learn things all over. And so what I want to do is kind of walk you through some things as far as the process and what to do when you're in the process of growing, when you're in the process of changing your habits, when you're in the process of stepping into new territory, whatever it may be, whatever it is that you are beginning a journey on. This is a process. This is things that you need to keep in mind on that process of becoming that. And truth of the matter is, it never ends. You get to a point where you've mastered that level, and then it's time to move on to the next level. You should always be growing. You should always, in some capacity, be made better in every areas of your life. Even if it seems like you've plateaued out, you haven't. One thing we need to understand is that growing when it doesn't seem like you're really growing, like it seems like nothing really sticks. I think everybody uses this whole example of a plant when we talk about growing. And so a seed is sown in the ground when you're growing a plant, and it's buried, it's hidden. But before you see it spring up, the roots actually grow. And so there's an inner work being done while you're actually going through this process. And so you have to keep that in mind. And even though you don't see a change all the time, even though you kind of feel it, you kind of sense it, but you really don't see it fully. And so you have to realize that roots are growing deep down in you. The seed is sprouting open, and you're being everything that you hear, everything that you see, every struggle that you have is all intended to water that seed. It's all intended to help it grow. And so we have to keep that in mind as well. So first things first is you must immerse yourself in an environment conducive to the process of your growth. You must get into an environment. Your environment is very important when you're in the process of growing, when you're in the process of changing, when you're in the process of a transformation, even if it's trying to get new habits. Your environment is key. Your environment can be a new city, it can be a new church, it can be new friends, it can be a new group of people, whatever that environment is that can really help you process your growth. It has to be somewhere where people are that can speak life into you, that could help you along the way. People that could is where you're trying to go and have been where you've been. They may not fully repositioning. Yeah, repositioning yourself. It may not they may not have been through your exact shoes, but there are some similarities that you can learn from. And then there's impartation that actually takes place. Things and knowledge and wisdom that they have can be imparted to you, and they'll go along into the second one. But you must change your environment where you're in the process of doing anything, in the process of growing or making a change. So we need to keep that in mind. I think another thing about the plant is the fact that if you want a plant to grow bigger, you have to take it out of the small, I know what I'm talking about, the small pot, and put it in a bigger pot so that it'll have room to grow. So that's a whole nother thing about changing your environment. The environment can really, I kind of don't want to keep harping on that because it kind of breaks down in the rest of them, but we'll go over it. But then the next one is to submit to a counsel or teaching of the one who was equipped to speak to the essence of you, actually the one you're becoming. So you have to submit to a wise counsel, submit to a teacher, a trainer, a mentor. Just position yourself up under them for them to pour into you. You can't do it on your own. I don't know why we feel like we can do everything on our own. Like we're just convinced that, hey, I said I want to change. I'm feeling God changing me. I feel like it's time, whatever the case may be. The doctor said I need to make this change. Whatever it is, we feel like we can do it on our own, and we can't. There's someone wiser. There's someone that's been down that road, and there's someone that has been set up or equipped with the right words and the language for you to go on into your next level. So first, you have to find another environment. Second, you need to really find somebody, a group of people or something that can pour into you, that could it has wise counsel. Like you can't really be around. Sometimes you have to pull yourself away from your old group sometimes, just because their mindset may not be on the fact of changing yet. They may not be going down the same road that you're going down. And so just for a time, you may need to pull away from them so you won't be tempted to do or behave in the old ways that you have been behaving. And so, and hello to all that is coming in. Y'all can share, y'all can speak when y'all come in, and I can acknowledge you. I learned that Facebook Live actually has a delayed in comment, so well, whatever, we'll deal with it. But so yeah, so find the counsel, the teaching, the person that is really able to get into classes, enroll into certain classes. I'm trying not to make it so centered on one type of process or one type of growing, make it a little bit more broad so you can put it into any aspect that you need to, but enroll into some type of classes, some free webinars, whatever it is that you can, if it's like learning finances. I think this year I enrolled into classes where people were teaching how to handle your finances. I enrolled in a class about people teaching how to handle a business, like different things. You need a different environment, and you need another teacher, a counselor that can really pour into you. And then you must surrender your rights to, this one is big. You must surrender your rights to prior knowledge. Become open to gaining another level of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. I think we have a hard time with really grasping the fact that there's more knowledge that you can obtain. Like what you've learned is not the end all be all. Sometimes it may be misinformed knowledge. It may be the knowledge may be wrong that you had prior. And it may have been right, but the fact that there's a new level of it will change the way you react, to change the way you behave, to change the way you perceive things. And that goes really back to our first example of Peter. Peter's prior knowledge of the law was that, hey, we don't do this, we don't eat of this, we don't associate with these type of people. But to move to another level, he had to gain another type of knowledge, and it may challenge you. I don't know why every time we get to find out new information, we're so quick to say, oh, that ain't right, just because you didn't know it but ahead of time, or just because it wasn't what you was taught, you was like, oh, you just gonna shut it down and say, mm-mm. Just because it doesn't seem right to you doesn't mean it's not right. You have to be open to actually have new knowledge come in. And sometimes your prior knowledge can hinder you from moving forward, can hinder you from learning things a different way, or learning how God operates in another way. God, like, really where I am, I guess I'm going to a new church. And so I've been in one church for 30 years. I love my church, love my pastor. And I had some great knowledge there. But going to another church has opened my eyes to even greater things. And it wasn't, the culture is a little different. It's not all that I'm used to. And so if I went in there with the same mindset of, oh, this ain't the way we did things, or this ain't what we, it's the same God, same Jesus, same Lord, same mission, but the way you go about doing things is a tad bit different. And so your prior knowledge can hinder you. You really have to be open to gain another level of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Just because you don't agree with it initially does not mean it's wrong. It does not mean it's wrong. You really have to be open-minded. You really have to take the time to look into it, to ask God to really reveal it to you. And that's the same thing with Peter. Peter could have been like, now listen, God, you wouldn't do this, because I know all this time we weren't able to eat this type of meat. All this time we weren't associating with these people. But you have to be open to new levels of knowledge. And then you must guard the new development of you. You have to guard what you're becoming. And it's almost like a newborn baby, especially one that's preemie, one that's not even preemie. You have to guard them from different surroundings until they can get adjusted to the outside world. They're coming from one realm, one spectrum to another, and there's successful. They're think of the word I'm trying to say. They're more prone to gain different types of infections and all of that, just based off the newness of them in a new environment. So you have to guard the new development of you, guard the new you, guard the new, and the way you do that is, one, by guarding your ears. Guard your ears from sound, from negative and deceitful speech. Guard your ears from those that always want to constantly bash people, talk down, say, oh, you ain't gonna do this, you tried to do it before and you ain't gonna do it this time, or who you think you are, trying to change, you think you better than us. I mean, we act like people don't have the right to actually become better and become greater. We always, for some way, somehow, when someone attains another status, we automatically think that they think they're better than someone. And I mean, they just wanted more out of life. It may be how they come off and we perceive them, but you have to guard your ears. You have to really guard your ears. You have to guard your ears from false information. Guard your ears, because at the same time that you're trying to learn, trying to grow, you're in the process of moving to another level. The enemy is going to throw different things at you to get you off track, to deceive you, to divert you to another direction. So you have to guard your ears. You have to guard the information that you're taking in and taking hold of. And then you have to guard your eyes. And that's also pretty much with what you watch, what you entertain, pretty much, I should say, what you entertain. Sometimes where we go and mingle with people, guard your eyes as far as what you probably watch on TV sometimes, because this is a big thing with us nowadays. We watch reality shows. There's nothing wrong with watching TV, of course, but what you're watching does it have an effect on you and you not even realize it. Sometimes we don't realize what we watch and what we listen to, actually how it kind of becomes us some type of way, how it kind of changes the way we view things. And it may not even change the way you view things. It may take your eyes off the right goal. It may deter you, and you're getting distracted. That's what it is. You may be getting distracted and not even knowing that you're being consumed with the wrong things at the wrong time. Nothing wrong with it, but at the wrong time, there's a lot wrong with it, especially when you're in the process, when you're being open, changed from the inside out, and all of that. You have to guard your eyes, guard your ears, and guard your life against the touches of dirty hands and wicked hearts. Just guard your be mindful of the people you become vulnerable with. This is one instance that I am learning is I don't know how to really be vulnerable with people, but at the same time, I know that I need to be cautious, even in my attempts to become vulnerable with people. You need to really ask God for a direction about what their motives are. You know, some people, they act like they're concerned. They act like they want to help you out, but yeah, they got hidden motives. And so we have to guard our life against that, guard our lives against dirty hands and wicked hearts. And so just to go back, run over it, because I just seen a few people jump on, is we're talking about the process of growing. What do you do when God interrupts your life? Talks about you changing, transforming yourself, challenging you to have new habits, challenging you to think on another level, challenging you to go to another level, challenging you to try new things. What do you do in the process? It may seem suddenly sometime like we have a suddenly change, but it's been a process all into this time. And we said that you must change your environment. You must get in an environment that's really conducive to your growth, that can really hold your growth, that really can speak to your growth. Get counseling, get teaching, get up under a mentor, get a different group of friends that can speak to who you're becoming, not just always speaking to who you've been. They need to remind you, like an accountability partner shouldn't always just bash you and be like, oh, you're doing this again. No, they need to really tell you, hey, you shouldn't be doing this because your future does not demand that. Your future demands something different. That's not who you are any longer. Let me remind you about that. Do this. So there's a way to do that. Then you have to surrender your rights to prior knowledge. Just knowing that what you thought knew in the past, it can change. It can be enhanced. Just open yourself. Don't just think everything that you hear when you hear for the first time, you're like, that don't sound right. I don't receive that. You know, use wisdom. Use wisdom, but your prior knowledge can hinder you if you don't remain open to new knowledge, a new level of revelation. And so that's one big thing. And then you have to guard yourself, guard the new development of you, guard the new person that you're becoming. And the way that you guard that is by guarding your ears against this deceitful speech, negative speech. Guard your eyes against what you see, what you watch, what you entertain, and guard your life against people that have hidden motives. Guard your life against people that really just want to prey on you, not P-R-A-Y, but P-R-E-Y, just want to prey on you. And so during the process, you're going to have challenges. You're going to be stretched. You're going to feel like, sometimes you're going to feel like nothing's happened. Sometimes, and when it feels like nothing is happening, we just have to remember, like, a seed actually takes root first. So the roots go down, and so you don't see anything sprouting up. So just because you don't see anything doesn't mean nothing is happening. There's going to be highs and lows. You're going to be happy and excited one day about what's going on, expecting greater things that's coming forward. And then some days you're going to be like, oh, it's the process and not over. Yeah, can it hurry up and come to an end? And it's going to be painful. It's going to be joyful, but it'll be all worth it. And I would reckon to say it never really ends. It should not end. You should always move from one level to a next. We're being made in his image. We're moving from glory to glory. Sorry, I'm a Periscope too. But we always should be changing, always should be transforming. We should always be opening ourselves and then we have to be cautious of this. Why was I gonna say that? We have to be cautious of. I think I didn't go back and remind or go back over this, but we have to be cautious of the new information that we're receiving. The enemy do try to throw in some information that that will throw us off, that will deter us, that will lead us down the wrong path. Just because it's new, just because it probably makes sense, logical sense, it don't mean it's truth. And so we need to be cautious of that. But be cautious of your words you speak. When you're trying to going through a process, you can't not only just be careful of what you hear, but you have to be careful of what you speak. You frame your world with your words, and so be careful of the words that you speak, and be careful of the thoughts you meditate. So as a man thinks, so is he. So be careful of the thoughts that you really meditate on. Don't quit. You can't quit. You don't forfeit your destiny, and don't allow your feelings and emotions to interfere. Like I said, you're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. It's going to be painful. It's going to be joyful. You're going to be feeling stretched and challenged, but you cannot let your feelings and emotions interfere with the process. You can acknowledge them, acknowledge that they're there, try to decipher why they're there, decipher what it is you need to do about them, but don't allow it to dictate and interfere with their process. And so that's how it is. I finished right on time. I finished at my 30-minute mark. Is there anybody that got any comments, questions, concerns? Anybody going through a process? Like anybody being changed, being challenged in any area of your life, whether it be spiritual, financially, career-wise? Anybody going through any type of changes? I really don't like Facebook and its delayed reactions. Periscope, I can see immediately. So that's it, people. We are at the end of From Blog to Live. It is August, the last day in August. Hey, my brother. And guess what? I think we'll be back next week. I said that I was challenged to do this for the month of August, and I think we'll be back next week. We're going to play it by ear about how long this will go on, but I definitely think we'll be back next week. So be looking out for another blog to live video next week. And next week, and we will continue to learn, continue to grow together. Basically that's what all this is. It's about just growing together, just talking it out, chatting it out, and seeing where we can go, see where God wants to take us from here. And so I will see you all next week for sure. Hey, LaChandra, I will see you all next week for sure, for sure, for sure. So we'll play it by ear about the rest of September. But I'm for certain about next week. So, hey, we will see you later. Bye.